Welcome to another episode of the Daily Chat Podcast, where we talk about all things awesome and nerdy. What's up, everybody? Today we're doing another rehash of a topic that's already been done before. We're going to be talking about cartoons, and today joining me is Brittney Renee. Brittney, say hi.
Hello.
Brittney, first time on the podcast, welcome.
Thank you.
All right. So, Brittney, we're going to be talking about cartoons today. You love cartoons, right?
Yes, that's mainly what I watched as a child, and that's mainly what I watch as an adult.
Okay, well, what exactly do cartoons mean to you exactly? To you, are they something significant of your childhood? Does it remind you of a simpler time?
Yeah, I would say that's definitely true. They definitely do remind me of more simple times. It just kind of took me away out of... Because when I was in school, going to school back in Rhode Island, and I remember, I just really did not like being at school very much because, I don't know, a lot of kids were, I just feel like I didn't really, because I was one of those odd kids, so every time I went home to watch cartoons, that just kind of took me into a different world, and yeah, I was able to escape the realities of being at school. And I don't know, I didn't interact with a lot of kids very much when I was a child. So, and I think that was part of it. And, even as an adult today, I'm much more outgoing, I'm much more social than I was back in the 90s when, it's when I watched most cartoons. But now as an adult, it's I kind of embrace it. I embrace it a lot more now because it's just become part of who I am. It's influenced me to write comedy and, a lot of all this other stuff. And, people have kind of embraced, they have gotten that vibe from me. I'm a big cartoon enthusiast and, that's just kind of carried me throughout adulthood. So that's, I would just word it that.
Okay. So did you collect a lot of memorabilia, action figures or dolls or whatever when you were a kid?
Oh yeah, I still have my vintage Buttercup doll from 20 years. It was sitting in my parents' basement. And I got that as a gift from a friend when I was 11. It was my 11th birthday party. And I had a big Powerpuff Girls themed birthday party. I had a rainbow piñata. I had all kinds of when kids have birthday parties, they have the theme, the theme stuff. So I had that. My sister had Bubbles, I believe. I think eventually I did add Blossom to the mix, but I had another Buttercup, but the talking one, I just left it in my parents' basement. And then recently, when I did the cosplay comedy show, I did a stand-up routine dressed up as Buttercup. And so I showed it to my mom, and my mom's like, oh, she's still sitting down here. I was like, yeah, well, I'll take it, I'll gladly take it off your hands. But I had other dolls too. I had, a Tommy, Pickles, and Chucky from the Rugrats, Angelica, all those guys as well. I collected, and then throughout time, as I was watching Family Guy, I had a Stewie. I think I had Stewie at some point, and I had all the South Park characters, but I didn't have so much room. I only have so much room for stuff, so I just kind of held on to what defined me the most and defined my childhood and me personally. So.
All right, yeah, that sounds good. So, you mentioned Rugrats. Was that one of your all-time favorites? Or?
As a child, it was, yeah. I don't know why I watched it, to be honest with you. I don't know why I watched it, because now I go back and watch it, I'm like, this was actually popular back then. I'm just like, God, that Angelica, she was nasty.
She was a bitch.
Yeah, oh yeah. She was just awful. And then it's Tommy, I feel bad for Tommy and Chucky had to put up with that. I was personally a fan of Tommy, obviously. Phil and Lil, it was a hit or miss with them. And then Chucky was, I mean, I felt bad for Chucky at times, to be honest.
Yeah.
And then I think I stopped watching the Rugrats maybe when I was like 10, 11 years old, because I think my mom got so sick of me watching it over and over and over. I think she just hated the show overall. And I remember there were certain cartoons that were banned from my house, like Rocko's Modern Life. My dad banned that. But, I mean, I still watched that when they would leave the house. And he banned Ed, Edd and Eddy. He didn't like that one either very much. And it's like, okay, I can kind of understand that. Because I feel like back in the 90s, there were a lot of cartoons that were geared towards adults. And so I can understand why parents were just like, how is this being geared towards children?
Right.
Because, like, with all that, because there is a lot of adult references in, Rocko's Modern Life and Red and Snippy.
Rocko's Modern Life was terrible.
Yeah.
Like, everything was a sex joke in Rocko's Modern Life.
Yeah. I can understand why parents didn't like it all so much. And then it would be interesting to go back and watch it. I hope Hulu puts it up at some point just to see, oh, okay. Then, it's better when you watch things as an adult. Like Johnny Bravo's another one of those shows. You go back and watch it as an adult. There's a lot of adult jokes so in there.
Well, yeah, the guy was a horn dog.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, no one doesn't surprise me at all. What was another one? Ren and Stimpy was the king of all. Like, how the hell did you market this to kids?
Oh, yeah. That, I mean, just the fact, I remember watching parts of Ren and Stimpy, like, Ren would have his eyes out, coming out so far, like, well out of it, his eyeballs would be sticking out so far, and I'm just, like, thinking... and then, like, obviously some of the things that they've talked about, and then, you see Stimpy dressing as certain things, and yeah, I don't understand how that...
show where every other line was a sex joke.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, I remember watching way too many hours of Ren and Stimpy, just thinking all the grossness was hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
Now, again, like you said, as an adult, I see clips of it in episodes, I'm like, really? You really get away with that? Like, because you couldn't get away with majority of that stuff today.
Oh, no. No, you couldn't get away with it now, but I think people got away with it back then because I feel like things were a lot more lenient. People didn't understand, like, that cartoons were starting to be geared more towards adults.
Right, exactly. And that, I still watch cartoons as an adult. I watch even kids' cartoons, and I watch adult cartoons now. I mean, I still watch Cartoon Network from time to time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you go back and, I go back and I watch the Powerpuff Girls, there's still some drug reference things in there from what I have seen, from what I don't remember as a child.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, well, I'm just saying, even nowadays, part of my Sunday morning routine has become get up, get a cup of coffee, make some breakfast, sit down and watch cartoons.
Yeah.
As I enjoy my breakfast and my cup of coffee, I'm just sitting there watching, either like classic reruns of like cartoon shows I grew up with as a kid, like Justice League, or other TV shows, or even some of like the newer things that are like popping up on Netflix. Like I just started watching this one show called The Hollow.
Okay.
It's another one of those silly superhero shows, but it's unique because it stars with 3 kids who wake up in a lab and they don't know what's going on. They're trying to figure out what's happened to them. So looks pretty interesting, actually. Like I'm definitely gonna check it out because the one thing I've noticed though is that TV shows, cartoon shows now are starting to deal with more adult themed topics.
Oh yeah, it's like
they're handling them in like better ways.
Yeah.
And everything.
Yeah, well, I mean, the newest cartoon that I've watched recently is Big Mouth on Netflix, and I've watched the whole first season. I'm waiting for the second season to come out. And I enjoy Big Mouth because it talks, I know there are some people that complain, they talk about his penises and vaginas. Yeah, but it's basically a cartoon about kids going through puberty.
Yeah, puberty sucks.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are, puberty sucks.
Oh, yeah. There's nothing fun. There's nothing, like, that really is exciting about puberty. I mean, but you go back, you watch this cartoon, and it's like, they have the hormone monster. I'm like, wait, what?
The hormone monster is the best part of it.
Yeah, oh, yeah. That makes the show.
And the hormone monstress.
Yes.
I'm the hormone monstress. Don't cry, call your mother a bitch. Call her Janet.
And then these kids are like, wait, I did what? How did that happen? I was trying to see if I could do this to impress Jesse. Or, these kids, they don't realize it's their hormones that they're trying to control them.
Exactly. So, other than Big Mouth, then, what are some of you been your favorite adult-themed cartoon shows?
Like over time?
Just overall, over time. Like, name some of, your favorite adult cartoons.
My favorite adult cartoons, throughout high school and college, I watched Family Guy for hours and hours on end. That was mainly what I watched more than anything. And now it's really influenced me to write a lot of the comedy that I do write, because you go back and I go back and watch the older episodes of Family Guy. I think after college, I kind of stopped watching it, because now I just feel like Seth MacFarlane has put his focus on other things, and obviously there's other people writing Family Guy, and I just don't think it meshes all that well now.
Right.
So I go back and watch the older episodes, and it's like a lot of it is sex and rock and roll, which is like a lot of what I talk about in my comedy routines, and with my TV pilot that I'm currently producing and that I just finished writing. It's mainly about sex and rock and roll.
Nice.
So that's put a big influence on it. It's like I watched the old episode with the Lois and Peter going to see Kiss, and I'm just like, see, this is what really brings me back to cartoons that Family Guy at its prime is around that time.
Right, exactly. There were some episodes I love the Star Wars episodes personally, but I'm obsessed with Star Wars. So.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
I also enjoy South Park now, because it's it's one of those shows where it's like everything is current, because the animation is different, obviously.
It's so cheap to make.
Yeah, it's much cheaper to make an episode of South Park than it is to make an episode of anything.
And fast, did you ever see the documentary A Week to Air?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, it's a documentary South Park came out with, Comedy Central came out with a few years ago, where they just show the whole process of how Matt trained the whole team to make an entire episode of South Park, starting on Thursday, and they're done by Wednesday. Sometimes they don't even finish an episode of South Park until 5 minutes before it's supposed to air. I'm not even kidding you. There was one time, I think there's only been one time in the show's history where they missed a date. Only one time.
Gotcha.
Which is insane.
Sometimes South Park can be a little bit too, political for me. If I were to tell anybody who wants to get into writing comedy, I would tell them, if you're going to write stuff that's similar to South Park, just be very careful, because, some of the stuff does get a little bit, so like I said, some of the stuff does get a little bit political, but,
It's very political.
Yeah, you go back, and then, with Family Guy, it's kind of more like fart jokes and that type of thing.
Yeah, but they get pretty political, too.
Oh, yeah, they can, for
South
sure.
Park also gets very full of fart jokes, so... they did one whole episode that was about Randy trying to set the record for the world's largest poop.
Oh, yeah.
That was one whole episode, and
oh, yeah.
It was hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
He's
competing with he's competing with Bono.
Who was the biggest piece of shit at the time.
Yep.
What are some of the other big things about cartoons that inspire you? Because for me, one thing I actually always admire is not just how it's storytelling, but it's also art in and of itself, just drawing and painting, and basically.
Yeah, animation is definitely it's an art form of its own, because every animator has their own style of drawing, and it's you watch regular on camera acting. It's humans are humans, but with cartoons, everybody draws you notice when you watch the Powerpuff Girls, they're drawn a certain way.
They look like bugs.
Yeah, they look like bugs compared to the rest of the characters on the show.
And they don't have fingers.
Yeah, exactly.
I never understood, how do they not have fingers?
They don't have fingers, and they look like bugs. They have the big bug eyes.
They look like bobbleheads gone wild.
Yeah, exactly. And then and then it's like you watch stuff like Family Guy where all the characters look different. Like Stewie's got a football head, and then you got Brian, and you got.
Well, it's just funny that you say though how every animator has his own style, and you know that's very true because you watch Family Guy, you watch American Dad, you watch the Cleveland Show, which nobody watched the Cleveland Show, but. And then I think there's one other he did. Oh yeah, it was Border Town, which I wasn't too crazy about either. But that it's Seth MacFarlane just based on the way it looks. Or then there's also The Simpsons, and then there's also Futurama, and then there's the new one coming out on Netflix. I can't remember what it's called, but I think it's called like Ever After or something like that.
Okay.
Basically, it's Matt Groening because they have no chin and a serious overbite and that weird button nose that he makes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how that works. I mean, not funny. I mean, it makes sense, but
Oh yeah.
The thing I like about it, because I'm such a huge superhero fan, is because until we got to this era now where CGI has just can reach the limits that can. That was the closest you were ever going to see to the real Spider-Man or the real Batman on screen. I mean, granted, Batman could be easier to do than Spider-Man at any given time, but still. The point I'm trying to get at though is like now it was the closest you could actually see superheroes in actual action.
Yeah.
So that stuff I loved. That's why I ate it up.
Oh yeah, and it's like you can make a live action version of Batman and Spider-Man, but it's just not really the same feel because it's like all the special effects can make it interesting, but when it's a cartoon, it's like you can make them do anything.
Yeah, but I still love all those Marvel movies.
Yeah,
I still love them all.
Oh yeah, I like a fair amount of the Marvel movies myself.
Mm-hmm. So, because I actually just started watching a cartoon show from the '90s that was on HBO called Spawn, and that's all about this people who are listening at home know who Spawn is and what I'm talking about, but most of them are anyway. But Spawn is just like a hell demon that comes back to Earth and just messes shit up. Starts running around killing people, and it gets gruesome. It gets really gruesome and violent.
I'll have to look into that. I haven't heard of that, so that's fairly new to me.
Yeah. So what are the other adult show or cartoon shows in general that you remember watching?
From childhood,
adulthood, whatever. Like some of your, just if you had to pick like your top 3 favorite cartoons of all time, what would it be?
Okay. Haven't really thought of that one. I mean, I know South Park and Family Guy I know would be at the top. The third one, I haven't really thought of that one. I mean, the Powerpuff Girls is up there because it definitely did influence me as a child, and I go back and I wrote a comedy act one time about it was made up obviously, but I remember going to my mom one time and be like, Mom, I wonder what life would be like if I was a Powerpuff Girl. And I made this comedy act like, I tried to fly, I tried to get laser eyes.
Did you find that Chemical X?
I wish.
Find Chemical X first.
Yeah, exactly. Where to find it is the question.
Well, according to the show, you could also go to a prison toilet.
That is true.
Which is disgusting.
Yeah.
So.
Good luck trying to get into a prison. That's the thing.
Getting into prison is pretty easy.
Getting into prison is pretty easy. But then again, you could always just be like, I'm visiting somebody, but.
Just suddenly walk into a cell. Yeah, I'm just here to visit somebody and steal their Chemical X toilet. For me, I would actually have to say one of my. I'd say for me the biggest cartoon show that's the largest influence for me comedy-wise would be. I think people have heard me say this before. The Simpsons. At least the classic run of The Simpsons, like seasons 3 through 9 or whatever, 3 through 8. That was. Just, I feel like satire at its best. So, I always try going for the TV shows that like try and at least get you to think a little bit more,
Yeah.
Or if South Park doesn't really get you to think that much, but you know what I mean.
No. Yeah. Yeah, I remember my dad had on The Simpsons back in, I think I was in 3rd grade, and he would have it on every Sunday night. I think after a while, my mom was just kind of like, I don't want them watching this. But then again, I think my mom just didn't like cartoons very much in general.
I don't think my dad gave a damn.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird, but consider the fact that, talk about a show that was risque for its time.
Mm-hmm.
Show's still causing controversy to this day, and it's going on for way too long at this point.
Yeah. I would say a lot of cartoons, especially like cartoons from the 90s, are still carrying on, a lot of heavy nostalgia for people these days. I was at the 90s prom party last night at the Fonda Theater, and I see people wearing like T-shirts with Nicktoons on them and Ren and Stimpy and stuff. So like people don't forget that. People don't forget like the era they came from, and they don't forget what made them.
Well, also look at it now how there's reboots of all 90s shows popping up every once in a while, or even 80s shows. Like they're about to reboot Thundercats, which I'm all set with that. I don't need to see that.
Yeah.
But, they've tried rebooting the Powerpuff Girls.
Oh yeah.
I don't think either one of us were a big fan of.
No, I think they should have just left that as it is in the past, because it's just so watered down now. And they replaced all the voice actors, which
the main voice actors too.
Yeah.
Is a weird thing.
Yeah, the voice actors for like the 3 girls, but they brought back everybody else, which that really doesn't make any sense why they would do that.
Exactly. That, to me, it was one of those things where if you're going to reboot the Powerpuff Girls, you should have just rebooted the whole thing.
Exactly.
Start the whole thing from scratch. Get a new animation style. Get a new creative team entirely behind it. Get new voice actors for everyone.
Yeah.
Which I think could have worked out better.
Yeah.
Some of them have come up pretty well. I like the new reboot of Voltron a lot that's been on Netflix. That one I enjoy. I'm trying to think if there's been any other TV show. I'm trying to think if that's been rebooted since we were kids.
Oh God,
There's probably been a few. I mean, how about the fact that SpongeBob is still going?
Oh gosh, SpongeBob! I remember that coming on when I think it was 10 when that came on. So it's been on for almost 20 years.
Yeah, I know, and I think that show, unfortunately, is to come to an end.
Yeah, I think it's just it's reached its climax. It's past it.
Exactly.
It's just, I think it's time to wrap up SpongeBob. I mean, I liked SpongeBob when it first came on, and I watched it for a couple of years, but I mean, I didn't watch it religiously like some of the other shows. But yeah, it's kind of like one of those things where if you see the same things over and over and over again, and you're not doing anything new and with it, so I think yeah.
So what kind of shirts did you see when you were at the 90s prom party? Like, what kind of things did you see?
I saw other than the Nicktoon shirts. I mean, I actually have a Nicktoon shirt myself that's made in the 90s. I have one like that. I dressed as Buttercup last night because I had my costume still from doing the comedy show a while ago. And I mean, a lot of people could kind of tell who I was. The glasses were a dead giveaway. They're like, I love your costume. I'm like, thanks. It was just sitting in my closet. But I saw people dressed as the Spice Girls. I saw a couple of people dressed as Ginger Spice with the British flag dress.
I'm talking specifically cartoons, though.
Cartoons.
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing anybody dressed as any other cartoon characters, to be exact, but I remember Lisa Frank. I think she was like a designer or something. She designed like all kinds of characters, like a comic characters, like horses, like little unicorns and that type of thing. So I saw a girl put with that shirt on, and I remembered that. Nothing else really pops up to me other than that. Okay. Everybody was kind of most people were kind of plain.
Yeah. Saying sound like they were boring. Lame. Meanwhile, what was I doing last night? I was working. So who else was on a Saturday night? So who else was lame? Yeah. What would you say are some of the TV shows that left the worst kind of impression on you? Like, Or better yet, has there ever been a moment where somebody has said something like mentioned a TV show or a cartoon show that you just completely and utterly forgot about, and then you're like, oh my god, that show sucked?
Oh gosh, it's so funny when we went to one of the cosplay shows a few months ago. I remember the Crimson Chin from the Fairly Odd Parents. That was one of those shows I feel like that got pretty neglected because it was one of the. I remember when it was first on Oh Yeah Cartoons back in the day, before it got its own show, and I watched it and I don't know, there was this.
You didn't like the Fairly Odd Parents?
Not really. I mean,
I love the Fairly Odd Parents.
There was some. I mean, it had its moments for me. It had its moments, but I don't know. I just did not like that babysitter.
You weren't supposed to like Vicky.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
She
No.
had a whole song called Icky Vicky.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
You weren't supposed to like her at all.
Yeah.
I thought the writing for that show was hysterical. I thought that was some of the wittiest writing ever in a cartoon show for kids. Ever. I stand by that.
Yeah. I mean, even I don't know. I mean, like I said, it did have its moments for me, but I don't know. It's like I think Wanda and Cosmo kind of like did make the world a little bit better for Timmy, and he was living this double life, which I found that a little bit interesting. I don't know.
It's one of my all-time favorites, so I don't care what you say. You go to hell. You go to hell, Mr. Hat. You go to hell and you die.
There were a couple other ones that I remember from Cartoon Network that I feel like they just didn't leave as much of an impact for me. I remember around the same time the Powerpuff Girls came out. Cow and Chicken, yeah, I remember that came out. I don't know, that didn't really stick out to me very much.
I kind of feel like Cow and Chicken was just Cartoon Network trying to be Ren and Snoopy.
Yeah, I just felt like that didn't hold any candle for me. Right. Courage the Cowardly Dog, I don't know, that didn't do anything for me either.
I like Courage the Cowardly Dog, but as a kid, but I'm sure if I were to go back and watch it now, I'd be like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Why did you put this on Cartoon Network?
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff that should have probably not been on, but a lot of those cartoons came from that. What's the name of that show? That What a Cartoon back in
I think it was like Cartoon Network had What a Cartoon.
Yep.
And
Nickelodeon had Oh Yeah Cartoons. Yep.
Both basically just like, hey, we're gonna pitch pilots, which they need to bring one of those kind of shows back.
Yeah, well, because now I feel like a lot of stuff is just. It was a good way for animators to showcase their stuff and their work. Mm-hmm. Where do they go to do that now? You know what I mean?
The internet, actually.
Yeah.
They go to YouTube.
Yeah, that would make sense. I mean, like I said, where else do most people showcase stuff that don't have other opportunity? They just think, oh, let's just go right to YouTube.
Yeah, you might as well. It's a free source.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean. That's where a lot of great cartoon TV shows have gotten discovered, like Workaholics, Broad City.
Yep.
They've all gotten discovered because they did like a bunch of shorts on YouTube and then they get found. And like the same thing happens with a lot of cartoons. So I can't name any off the top of my head, but I know it happens.
Yep. Yeah, I can't name anything off the top of my head either.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And there are just so many different ways to make a cartoon nowadays.
Yeah.
Like, I know people, there's this. Like what people do, there's machinima, which is where people just take the multiplayer function of their video games and they just record voiceover effects. That's it.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot easier to do that stuff now than it was back then, too. Mm-hmm. Now that technology's become so advanced, there's all these different types of programs and all this other stuff to, do any type of animation you could possibly think of that's out there.
Right. I mean, I personally would love to get involved with making a cartoon some way, somehow. Yeah.
I mean, you've talked about you possibly want to get into voice acting now.
I do want to get into voice acting, actually. So if anybody out there, Cartoon Network, is listening, I can do voices. Just listen right here. You see, this is my low, sexy voice. Why don't you go right ahead and hire me for some sort of Barry White parody? Yeah, I would love to do that kind of stuff. One of my favorite documentaries is actually I Know That Voice. And that's where they just interview a bunch of voice actors, and it was all put together by Don DiMaggio, who is better known to most people as either Jake the Dog or Bender Bending Rodriguez from Adventure Time or Futurama, respectively. And it's a really good, fun documentary. It just shows you a bunch of people who truly love their job. So that's the one reason why I seem to like it, is because it just seems like they just have like a regular job, but that job is still acting somehow.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, I feel like any type of animation, it just definitely takes you into another world, and, you know, you can kind of create a world of some other world that's never been created. Exactly. So that's the great thing about animation, that's always drawn my attention.
Did you make that pun on purpose?
No, I didn't.
So yeah, is there anything else you'd like to talk about, or?
I don't think so. I think I've pretty much covered everything that I needed to say.
Yeah, so have I. I mean, like I said, this is a topic that we talked about on the show fairly recently, so we'll probably talk about it again at some other point. But I mean, you know, it's always nice having somebody else's perspective. But you know, kind of went over a little bit of the same things we did with Dan, but whatever, that's to be expected. We're all part of the same age group, so.
Yep. Well, part of the millennials age group.
Yeah, exactly. Ooh.
Parents who just one word of advice for parents who think that your kids are not going to learn anything from cartoons. Please stop thinking that.
I've learned a lot from cartoons, actually.
Yeah.
It's because of the Rugrats. I know that a gross is 144. And if anybody's a real Rugrats fan, actually, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
I don't even remember that. It's been years since I've watched the Rugrats at all.
I'm gonna show you a thing then later. So I guess that's gonna do it for us on this episode. Brittney, is there anything you'd like to plug? Any social media? Any shows coming up soon?
Yeah. So I am producing a TV pilot or web series. I guess you could just say it's a TV show, just to be general. It's called Totally Starstruck, and I am going to be producing this throughout the summer, and so hopefully I will be releasing it by the end of this year or beginning of next year. I also have another show coming up at Flappers, June 25th. It's a Monday night. I believe it's around 7:30. So if you're in the Burbank area, please come out and show your love and support. I think that's pretty much it for me.
All right, and as always, everybody, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Kyle Daley Comedy. Or Facebook page is Kyle Daley Comedian. What do you want to say, Brittney?
And you can also follow me on Instagram at I am Brittney Renee, Brittney, not ANY. You will not find me. And Renee is spelled Renee. It's just
I'll leave links to it.
All one word. What?
I'll leave links to it in the description of the podcast.
Yep. And also Brittney Renee on Facebook. Name's spelled the same way.
Okay. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for us. Brittney, thank you so much for being on the show. We want to have you on again at some point soon.
Thank you for having me.
All right, everybody. Bye.
Bye.